you better have a sign on the door to the basement that says Underground Duchy. If you don't, you failed. That's all it really comes down to.
Oh man, I really should at least, or just a cryptic, just a gold crown,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
hung
I'd
on
take
the
it.
door, and people are just like, "Oh, okay, you have a crown on your door," and you're like,
Right.
"You failed the test."
Yeah, yeah. I think that's going to make it work out. Well, we got our drinks. We got
Yes.
our plan, our ill-conceived plan. I guess I should introduce this here. Kyle Frost from Give Pause Hobby is joining me, Jack, on the Cardboard Herald today, so we can talk about spirits in Spirit Island, and we're going to be like rating these. So you pitched this idea to me. So like, what was your pitch? What was the genesis of this?
Honestly, I don't know where it came from. Like everything, it like a little kernel of some other conversation. But I came up with this thought of like two axes,
Uh huh.
like
Uh huh.
if we're good with the spirit and if we're not, and if we enjoy playing the spirit or if we don't.
Right.
And then coming up with like those four, because we've seen other people do it. We've done some things before. We're like our top five, whatever. But it seems so different to that totally breaks them. It's like a scatter shot of like all the way from like the ones you're like S tier that you enjoy to like your good ones that you don't really like playing. Which I just thought was kind of an interesting combination of things. And with the new, I can't remember what it's called, the Target,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
forthcoming,
The
Spirit
forthcoming
Island.
Spirit Island, the kind of like streamlined one, and then the announcement of an upcoming expansion with even more spirits.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we got so much on the horizon.
My storage solution is going to need to be drastically added to in the not too distant
Well,
future.
they did announce that they're coming out with all these like thin cardstock versions of the spirit boards. I think they're actually
Oh,
at Gen Con right now, which is happening. They're like these fancy foil versions, and they're just thin cardstock. So that's going like
so you mean
finally
not this?
condensed. Yeah, yes, yes, yeah. I got it here as well. I'm like, oh, I got lifting weights to carry these freaking things. But what happens when I'm S tier with all spirits?
I I mean, I
Okay.
honestly was looking through I was like, I'm better at some of these than I assumed I was. I was like, I've struggled with this one. I looked at the
Uh-huh.
record. I'm like, maybe not so much.
Right,
I
right.
wouldn't say I'm S tier with all of them, but I mean, given
So
enough time.
the scope of this, albeit being two dudes on the internet talking about things, the scope of this is we're really going to hone in on like one or two spirits that really represent each of these quadrants for us. But I mean, we could be talking about other spirits bringing in and kind of the decision process and everything. My
Right.
hope is that us two novices figure out some way in order to lock down that extremely elaborate streaming tech to do like a tier list for all the spirits, so that way we can have like a 7-hour discussion of all the different spirits and really humming or hawing over what goes on to what tier. Like this one's pretty, but this one seems like he'd be a bad dude in the boy band.
Is he a
Like,
B plus or a A minus?
yeah, exactly, exactly. So that's the hope down the road, and we might look into doing some troubleshooting because I'd love to do some live streaming of this kind of stuff. But for right
Oh
now,
yeah.
hey, Kyle wanted to do this. I wanted to do this, so we're going to discuss this. You sent me this awesome the axes here to look at, and I am just riveted to hear you dive into something. So, which one of the slices do you want to take a crack at first?
Yeah, well, before I start, I just want because there might be some spirits people might expect on one of these quadrants that aren't going to be on mine, and that's because I'm just coming right out and I'm taking a ding to my street cred, but I just got Feather and Flame because I was not into Spirit Island early enough to get any of the promos. So the 4 promo spirits I have now, they've arrived like yesterday, but I have not played with them.
Yeah, see, I'm so OG that it wasn't even a
Right.
box set, man. I
Right.
had to get in there when they were promos and be like on BGG, get the alert and hop on in the middle of the night.
Oh,
Come on.
I
That's where
mean,
it's
I
at.
tried. And on the what is the the company, I can't remember now.
Greater Than Games.
Greater Than Games, yeah, on their website. I've multiple times been on their alert, like email alert, and every time they've been like, "Hey, psst, we have the promos in." I'm like, "Really?" And I go there and they're sold out. So I finally have those four somewhere around here. But yeah, so I started playing finally after hearing enough good things about it from a number of people, but specifically Jack here. And Jagged Earth was already yeah, Jagged Earth was already the funding was already done. So
Right.
I was just getting into the base set then. So those four, I'm really excited. I was super excited about Finder of Paths Unseen, and then I looked at the board and the cards, and I was like, but and a good amount of what I do is solo. I really
was going
like
to ask that.
one spirit, one island. I mean, I've introduced it to a number of people, including my wife and friends, and it's it's been a hit with pretty much everyone I've played it with. But solo, one spirit, one island is my like most played. I've done some multiple spirit solo plays, but I mean, I can run root bots all day, but the spirits, like when they need to actually intermingle, give me a hard time. So some of those, or like the serpent, I'm just like, I don't know if that's really gonna jive with how I play. I'm for sure gonna try, but we'll see. It might force me to do more multiple spirit stuff. So yeah, do you have a preference for which quadrant we start in? Because I'm amped to talk about all of them.
Well, I like starting with enthusiasm, and I can enthusiastically dislike something, but let's start with the things that we like, and then maybe we'll go back and forth on the like and dislike, and then the like and dislike in the other half. So I think we should start with I like it, but I do poorly, because it's fun to laugh at ourselves, and it's also fun to be really enthusiastic.
Yeah.
So I'll kick this one off, because this is one that I really want to talk about, and it's interesting that you brought up solo, because Spirit Island, you know, like all the spirits do different things, and so much of the game is about how they synergistically work together. Some of them can really carry a game on their own. Some of them can absolutely decimate when they're on their own and they have that smaller scope to really focus on. But some of them are by design just, you know, supportive spirits, and they do best when paired with others. And that's a lot of the great discovery of the game. I do a lot of multiplayer Spirit Island, and I also do a lot of single island Spirit Island as well.
Cool.
So we're kind of in the same boat here. I tried to just kind of go with my gut and not overthink this. The one that I had to pick for I like it, but I do poorly is one of the ones that you haven't had a chance to play yet, which is Heart of the Wildfire, you know, the fire puppy. Have you actually looked at the abilities of this dude yet?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. They remind me of a couple other ones that I'm not super great with, because it's like living right on the edge. But yeah, it's Fire Puppy. It's funny because I recognize it from the card. There's a I can't remember what it is. There's some abilities, some of the powers that it's a part of. And at the time, again, because I'm like a noob and wasn't at the ground floor, I was like, oh, what's that spirit that's there? And it's been like old hat for people who've been there from the beginning. But
yeah,
Fire Puppy's yours.
Yeah, it's funny because like I played this single player. Most of the time I play it in a multiplayer set, but I played it recently single player, and I did absolutely decimate. And I was playing against I don't remember, Brandenburg Prussia or something, and I played the level 2 difficulty, not just the base difficulty, not level 1 but level 2,
right?
And I wiped the island clean. There was not a single invader left on there. However, there was only one blight that was left over to be pulled before I lost the game as well. So I was on that nice edge the entire time.
Right.
And when I say I like it, but I do poorly, I think it's really one of those things where like I have a hard time just like judging exactly where I need to go, and I teeter too close to the edge, and I lucked out in that most recent game. But you know, it's one of those things where like everyone else at the table is sweating bullets because they're like, Jack, what are you doing? I mean, you have abilities to put the blight back, you don't have to just put it out. And you know, it's so aggressive, and you know, it's just so fun to be able to do so much direct damage and wipe out the invaders. But putting out the blight as part of your innate actions is wild.
Yeah, that it kind of reminds me of the volcano looms high of like this, like, you know, you are the both the like the saving grace, but also like the curse of the team, whether it's solo or not. But yeah, I that is definitely I think what is it? The Downpour Drenches the World is probably the one I'm most excited to check out, but Fire Puppy is definitely right underneath that. Now that I found out that Finder is like like 5-dimensional chess.
Yeah. Well, Downpour is great because Downpour is just like, you know what? Why don't you just do your power twice? Why not twice? Why not do it again?
Right.
But that's one of those ones where it works so brilliantly in tandem with another spirit. Like,
yeah,
you know, it's fun and it can definitely rock it solo, but it's one of those ones where you're like, it's almost like seeing your kids open Christmas presents so that you're really excited to play with them. It's like, I get to give you the gift of doing an awesome major power twice. It's amazing.
Everybody wins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, so I love this one, the Melted Candle of Shroud of Silent Mist. I was looking through these recently, and my daughter, who's 5, was like, "What are these?" And we both agreed that that's what that one looks like the most, a melted candle. And so I really like. I mean, the tough thing about this whole concept of these quadrants is in these, you know, in terms of how good I am with them, sometimes those can be pretty wide, but like the liking to disliking one, some are like just barely below that threshold. I like most of the thematic ties to all these spirits is just so great, and that's why the game is so fun. Can I
ask you a question about the, like, because this is a weird quality thing. How's your win-loss ratio in Spirit Island? Do you actually have a decent amount of losses?
I don't. Look, I haven't delved like super deep into the higher difficulty like scenarios or I've started more often than not using like the scenarios or the empire sort of things, the invaders, but I haven't like really pushed it up into those higher tiers, and a large part of that is just if I am doing it solo, I know that if there's no one else who's helping remember, like, oh yeah, they do this thing. Like even with those little cardboard reminders, like I'm going to miss it all the time. And then 2 turns later, I'm going to be like, oh man, and it's going to drive me nuts. Well, so my overall win rate is relatively high.
Yeah, I think that's something that's so interesting about Spirit Island in general, is that it's one of these games where people tend to win at a much higher rate than what you normally want out of a cooperative game.
Right.
And yet it's still riveting and enjoyable. And I think it's because you can see how soup sandwich it can all turn if you don't play right. And it's not like it's overly difficult, but you still feel the pressure. And so people don't necessarily ratchet up the difficulty. And that's something that I talked with Eric Royce about on the podcast one time, is I was like, you know, a lot of people, they want games that they more often lose at. And Spirit Island, you know, like, people tend to win, and in some ways that's a criticism that people have of the game. And he's like, well, people are playing at too low of a difficulty, they should be playing way up here. You know, that's where it's really going to stretch your muscles, because if you feel like the last third of the game is, well, I've already won and now it's just the procedure of cleaning up, so I really like that. I enjoy that, but nonetheless, you know, like, that's why those heavy difficulties are there. But, you know, like, even at lower difficulties, it's really satisfying because you feel like you're on the ropes. But like you,
Right.
I honestly tend to win with most spirits. I've had plenty of losses, but compared to like Pandemic or something, you know,
Right.
where I expect I have like a 50% chance of losing at a comfortable difficulty level, is it's interesting. It's part of the charm of the game that makes it so enjoyable in spite of that.
Yeah, or like Maquis, like a solo game. I'm probably very rarely going to beat this game. But yeah, I was actually just recently talking. Someone on Twitter had almost like a totally polar opposite look at it about how their first experience was kind of a bit steamrollery, and I'm not sure what the details like difficulty or spirits they were using. And someone, chimed in and said like they felt the same way, and it took like a few games for them to wrap their head around it. And they're like, I'm not sure if I want to bang my head against the wall. And I said, well, to me, like, yes, I've won quite a few of them, but almost every time I've won, I can attribute it to like one or two critical, if not decisions I made, like when I draw the powers to choose from, I'm like, that's going to be helpful.
Right.
I'm like, I really want more destruction, but the game's like, we're going to give you more this other thing. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll try that. And like 2 turns later, I'm just like, wow, my life got so much easier because of that power. Or like the one critical turn where they draw the coastal invasion card, and you've already dealt with the coastal stuff, and you're just like, whoo, okay. And then that's the moment when the like tides turned.
Right.
But yeah, and on that same point, so Shrouds of Silent Mist, I love the theming of it. I really love the kind of slow decay that you can be the cause of, but I'm just so babied or so used to like the immediacy of some of the other spirits that I get lulled into this like, oh yeah, I like did some chipped away at them over here, I'll come back and finish them off later with just like a quick damage. And I'm like, I don't have those right now. They're not as, or they're slow powers instead of fast powers or whatever it may be. And so it's one I really like, but not one that I'm I've eked out a win with a co-op with another friend, but so far not as a solo win.
It's funny you mention that because I also picked Shroud of Silent Mist, but I put it into the category that is a spirit that I'm good at. I have felt sufficiently powerful every time that I've played it.
Cool flex, Jack. Cool flex.
Yeah, exactly. But I just do not vibe with this guy, like he is, maybe it's the Nazgul-ish appearance about him, or, or it, I don't want to assume anything here. Or maybe it's just, that lack of immediacy. It is cool. It's super thematic that it's on the table and, you're decaying the spot and you can kind of float along, like that kind of push across the board is really interesting. But nonetheless, I'm like, man, I gotta sit around, wait for these guys to die out. It just feels like work. Like, this spirit is a lot of work to do what it does best, and it can do that. It's just like, man, everyone else is so flashy, whereas he's like a bureaucracy spirit. He's like, all in due time. We'll take care of it. I just have to haunt them with 3 Christmas ghosts first.
You used a staple and not a paperclip, so I have to send this form back to you.
yeah, he's punishing all the spirit or all the invaders with TPS reports or something. Like it is a lingering spirit, and in that regard, I mean, I don't feel like I've ever done specifically poorly with the spirit, but I just, each time that I play it, I've been like, man, I want to pick this up. I want to do more. Come on, I'm watching other people do cool stuff around here.
Well, this is like the exact reason why I love comparing this, because in my mind I'm just like, well, what happens if we just have all the same spirits? And for a peek behind the curtain, we did not compare answers to this going into it, and so perfectly, just like not only in one axis but in both of them. We have the total opposite of the same spirit. So well done. It's this that's what makes this game so delightful. And but speaking of you know, in incongruous with how delightful the game is, like I said, going into that dislike the spirit category, it just like hurts me a little bit. And I put it in, and I was like, you know, dislike but good with, or does poorly with. And maybe it's not dislike, but it's not, like what you're saying. You're just like, I'm good at this. I feel like I'm doing my job. I'm just not enjoying it. And for me, that's the Stone Boy,
Oh yeah, yeah,
Vital
yeah.
Strength of the Earth. And it's funny because there's a point, like the first or like second act of the game, that I feel really great playing Vital Strength, but because I'm the one that can just like keep things together. I'm just like, all right, I'm going to defend these territories, or these, you know, areas, because stuff's going down over there, and I'm going to help out in this other little way. And you're very much like a support class sort of thing.
He's just such a sweet little baby.
I
Like,
know,
you know, just look at
that's what makes it
that
so
face.
hard
I
on
mean,
me.
you're breaking my heart here, man.
I know,
Uh,
it's like his face is even hearing me say this now. It's like the kind of like, are you serious? Like, I'm doing my best. And I do like enjoy, and I love, this is a great spirit. Other people who, you know, it's a lot to grok at first when you
mhm.
just like, all right, come along, let me teach you a Spirit Island, and then you like haul out the two massive, just like record-sized rule books, and there's like, what did I get myself into? This is a great one that people can like take that ownership, because really early on there's those moments of like, no, I got this under control. But then later on, I'm just like, I'm just not. There's some big
Uh,
moments,
have
but not
you
big enough.
have you taken into consideration the aspects that they have?
I've started working my way through aspects as well, because, you know, now having played all the spirits, I have not played all the aspects, and so starting to do that, and I imagine that will probably uh, change over time, because that'll give me a little bit more, you know,
Yeah,
spice to add to it.
yeah, I think so. And you know, I have a certain affinity to the starter spirits of the original set, and I didn't pick any of them in this category because, you know, I have class and, you know, good taste. You know, I didn't want
Not
to pick
me.
on. I feel like I'm picking on a second grader here. Like, you're bad and should feel bad. No, but the starter spirits, they're by design. They're to onboard people, and I do think that they're fun to play, and I think that they have some of the cooler character designs. I mean, I'll always have an affinity. Like, there was no room for just like favorite design, which, you know, like, I am a strategy gamer, but in my heart of hearts, I'm like, oh, this one looks cool. And shadows flicker like flame as like a entirely black fire that has these flaming yellow and red eyes. I have such an affinity for, and it was the first sock puppet that we made for all of our review stuff, and so that one is like indelibly charming to me. Like, it is inescapable how much I love that one and can never say anything bad about it. So the original four, I mean, the
Yeah.
original four, they're in my heart of hearts. Or
Well,
I
I
guess
just kicked
not.
it. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
kicked
exactly.
the
Yeah.
hornet's
So
nest.
it's like we were at a soccer game, and, you know, like, I keep on going back to like kids, but it's like when you're at a soccer game and for your kids, and you see some other kid shin kick your kid out there, and then suddenly you're like, okay, I'm not normally a chest beating dude here, but I kind of want to go talk to that kid's dad. Where is he? Where is
Right.
he?
Where did you come from, kid?
You just kicked Vital Strength of the Earth in the shins. Okay, so getting to the ones that uh, I think are bad and I am bad, and that way we can end on like the super happy note.
The super one, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you want me to take this one?
Well, I mean, you just shared one, right? You just kicked my baby in the shins.
I did, and
talk to me about how much you love Grinning Trickster Stirs Up Trouble. Nice.
I love it so much. It's in this category.
I think everyone who like is a one of us elitist strategy gamers or anything like random stuff. I need predictability. I need accountability. Yeah. Come on, spirits. I don't want silly random stuff. I mean, I've seen games where they've done all right, but it's too unpredictable. It's too weird, and it feels too much like a joke, and I just feel like, man, you could have been something else. You could have been a contender, and it ain't.
Yeah, I wonder. I know. Again, one funny part about coming in late to a game once the expansions are already out there is that I didn't need to like wait through true like ground floor base Spirit Island, because I immediately loved the game and luckily found a copy of Branch and Claw right away, which wasn't always the case. It still isn't sometimes. And so I got the events and everything like pretty quickly. I only had like absolute like ground floor Spirit Island, very few amount of games, and there was, I know looking back, there was some kind of consternation about it's too easy to math it out, because there wasn't that like those extra little things. And then some people say that's why they don't like the event deck. They don't want that.
Well,
they want
wrong.
to be able to say, yeah, agreed, for sure. Because the best part about so many things is like, I don't know, are like, cause you have a beast token or like 4 of them in one spot with a bunch of invaders, and you're like, I don't know if this is ever going to be helpful, but it sure looks intimidating. But so early on there was that lack of randomness, and I wonder if this was kind of like a throwback to kind of like, well, if some people want random, here you go, and just sort of like, jump the shark a little bit, because it feels there. That's what makes this game special, is how different all the spirits feel. But this one feels different in a way that, like, I don't know, it's like a totally different than the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, the best part of any game of Spirit Island is that cinematic moment where the tides turn and just something really cool happens. And whether it's you finally were able to pull off your own innate power, or it was a moment in which you could like draw into some major powers and you're like, this is the one, this is going to change everything for us. And it's like this awesome high five moment, and drawing into those powers or getting a really good event that kind of meshes with everything. Those are really great moments, but I find that because of the way this spirit works, it too often leads to you revealing something that's just kind of like a wet fart. It's just like, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, that was a thing. And I could see those moments where it's like, we're up against a wall, we need something, and you flip it, and it's like, this is exactly the right thing. But the only reason you're up against a wall is because your spirit wasn't able to pull its weight until that moment, as opposed to the other spirits where you feel like you're in control. I do appreciate that it provides a alternative. It presents an option for people who want a different play style, who want something more chaotic. And that in itself can be cinematic, like that unpredictable flavor. And remember that time, people talk all the time about they want to design games that when people play, they can talk about it, 5 years down the road. Remember that time where we were playing that game and you did this and I did that? He's just one more thing that could be that. I just find that the unpredictability rarely leads to the level of excitement that any of the other spirits innately are able to provide.
Right. And kind of the opposite, but same sort of idea of when, instead of like rolling another game or moving on or like wrapping up a game night, you just sit there and you talk about what just happened for like another 15 to 30 minutes or whatever it is. And you you regale those like moments. It's funny because we just admitted how like drawing that perfect power is like the moment. You're like, oh, now the game is in control, or like, wow, what a perfect time. And this is a spirit that potentially like has that like coursing through its veins, but because it's so ubiquitous and like at a lower level, it's just kind of like meh.
And
Like,
also, like, you have to kind of declare what you're
mhm,
doing before you find it out. Whereas drawing into the power, you get four
right,
powers. You get to choose which one of those you want. And
right,
then when you employ it, you get to decide how you're going to employ it. I've had this spirit where I've drawn a card that it's like, this would have been great had I chosen somewhere else to resolve this or something. And, you know,
for sure.
like,
Yeah,
not being able to anticipate that ahead just leads to more frustration than anything else.
yeah. It does have a great title on one of its starting cards, the Unexpected Tigers.
Yeah.
When I was looking through the cards, like the
Yeah.
board is part of the DNA, but those starting cards are also part of it. And I flipped through and I was like, I do love that. It's just like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I should say we both probably, if someone was like, dude, do you want to play Spirit Island? We would be like, yes. And
yeah,
even if it was like, well, you know, I really want to see this one in action. Do you mind playing this? My answer would be yes. I want to
for
play
sure.
Spirit Island, and I want to play with all the spirits, even the spirits that I don't love. They're still playing Spirit Island, and you still get a strategic flair with all of it. Like, none of it undermines the game in its entirety. It's just some aren't as cool as others can be.
It's true.
Which is
It's
why
like,
you should tell me about the coolest of the cool that you are
oh
S
man,
tier with.
the double S tier. Um, yeah. So mine is when you mentioned before the design aspect, you're like, wow, like which one looks so cool. That I had one that's part of this. It's not the reason I chose it, but many minds move as one. Um, with the face that I did not recognize at first. I just thought it sort of looks like if you saw Mothman Prophecies, like
Yeah.
the kind of like little Y shape that's like kind of crooked and like squiggly. And I was like, okay, and it's birds. And then it just like in a moment, I remember like way back when I was in the game garage, not the game cellar
Game
right now,
basement in the
the game
underground
basement,
duchy.
right? I remember I was doing a playthrough of Many Minds and I just like glanced over at the board and suddenly I noticed that it was a face. And I
Right.
was like, "Oh my goodness." And so that like kudos to that design like from sun up to sundown. But the spirit itself, this is what I wanted. I never get the name right. This
The
is what I
sharp fangs.
wanted. Sharp Fangs. Yeah. Because when I first again like when I got Branch and Claw, and we had all those tokens and everything, and I was like, "Oh, Sharp Fangs, like behind leaves, awesome! Get to use these beast tokens. That sounds super rad." And it just there are times when it feels like it's making good on the feeling, like
Hmm.
the mechanical, what I expected to feel like. But when I played Many Minds Moves One, I was like, oh no no no, this is what I wanted it to feel like. And it's just so like just gathering things up and just boom exploding, and sometimes just kind of covering it just feels awesome.
And being
And
able to like draw the beast tokens from so far away and then deploy them so far away is just like,
yeah,
you know, you get that flock of birds. Anytime that there's like animal tokens involved, you know, like I'm a sucker for wildlife in general, and just the any spirit that utilizes the animal tokens or any of the power
mhm,
cards just feels so cool. It's like, you know, it's not just the plants that are rising up. It's not just the spirits. It's like the very essence of life on this planet is rising
right.
up. Like that, when you use Many Minds, which was my backup best
Oh,
spirit, just in case you picked the same one as me, this was going to be my alternative. So this is like second bay.
nice.
It's the bay after the bay.
Yeah.
But when you get like that Hornet major power or Locust major power, do you know
Oh,
the one that I'm talking about? Where
uh-huh.
it's just like here's 1,000,000 beast tokens, and then you can repeat this power in neighboring vicinities, and you're like, yes, I have become Destroyer itself. You know, like,
Yeah,
it's
it kind of feels like Small World. Where you're just like, like you have a big enough pile, you can just keep going.
yeah. And the design is cool. You know, it kind of has this the Mummy vibe about it. You know, like the 1990s Brendan Fraser vehicle, the Mummy. You know, you got that flying at you. Yeah, it's a cool spirit. I love this one. I think it was the first of the new batch that I played once Jagged Earth actually came out.
I think it was actually mine too.
Do you remember the first spirit that you played in general? Like the first time you played the game?
I believe it was Lightning Swift Strike.
Okay. Yeah,
because I was just like, let's
Shadows.
Do this.
Yeah, I think I did Shadows. I think Christina and I sat down and she was you know, our poor sweet baby that you kicked.
I was just
and
the target of my ire.
Shadows. And she has solidly become the go-to spirit for her for a long time has been the Hungry Ocean, which is great. She loves playing that. But now it's kind of like a thing in the household where we have to rotate in spirits because we kind of have the same favorite spirit, and that becomes a problem. And we feel bad for all the other spirits in the box, so we're like, oh, we got to put that one away. But Lure of the Deep Wilderness is my guy. This guy here, he is our favorite. He is just like, the character design is so cool. Like the iguana meets the anglerfish. The fact that he's like holding out a paw here, like, pleased to meet you, let me eat you, is so great. We made an awesome sock puppet with him, and you want to talk about cinematic moments. I mean, he's not the fastest moving spirit. He has a lot of flexibility in kind of maneuvering things around, but you being able to just like set it up and then absolutely consume an interior aspect of the island, kind of the inverse of the ocean. It just is so cool, and like it's immersive and imaginative and cinematic and all the best things about the game. And strategically, it is banging. Like I love this guy. I think before Jagged Earth came out, my favorite spirit was the what is he called? The Keeper of the Forbidden Wilds, who's kind of like a slow defensive spirit, but he set up like these fortified interior areas, and you got to see the island kind of reclaim itself, pushing all of the invaders out to the exterior.
Right.
Lure of the Deep Wilderness does that, except instead of defensively, aggressively, and it just it's so good. It's so good. He's just
Have you ever played with him eating the inside and Ocean eating the outside?
Oh yeah. It's the best. I mean, it does take there is some middle ground in there where you're like, we got to figure out some things, get some support powers in on this. But love that. And you know, Ocean is one of those ones. Have you played Ocean entirely solo, like single board solo?
I have. Yeah.
How'd that work out for you? I've never done it.
It did work out for me. I mean, that's one of the ones where it's a huge, how it, like, which board you use, what the order of the cards that come out, and it was one that there was enough kindling and that I could draw from over there, and that's where that's where the city always starts, but like there was enough growth over there. I was like, okay, this is where their city centers are going to be. So that's good for me, and they didn't spread too quickly elsewhere. So it was one I could, while I was playing it, kind of like you were saying before, the end was kind of mopping things up in a good, and it felt good, like, yeah, I did it. Yeah. But there was, like, in the beginning, I could, like, really see a world in which it did not turn out that way. I was like, okay, we just need to contain these things, because it's really, like, I mean, the strength that you have on the coast just like becomes this like as the further away you get, And I think I really,
it's just
some of the
little trickling waves coming up to their toes.
right, and because sometimes for some of the spirits that aren't, really tuned for like solo, protection of the island, I feel like sometimes I'm just like diving deep. I'm like, come on, random number generator, give me a good power here. And I just need something that can like lob damage from a distance that I have no business having control of right now. And I think that's probably how I made that one work out. But
okay, well, we finished our list, but I just like talking to you. So, like, if there were a category, the spirit I like to play most when I'm feeling saucy, does something come to your mind, like where you're like, oh yeah, like let's light it up here?
For sure. And well, I guess mine is when I saw all the colors when I was looking at Trickster's board and all those things, it reminded me of it because I love Starlight Seeks its Form, because that's like the over here, just like the menu of options. You're just like, what do I want to eat today?
Insanity. The super high complexity spirits, or is it described as high? No, very high is the description on Fractured, and then the Starlight, and then Seeker of Paths, or Finder of Paths Unseen.
Yeah, Finder of Paths. When I looked on the back, it's just like this bar chart is just like ridiculous, and I love how offense is like below 0 on Finder. But yeah, Starlight I love. So I love having all those options for the innate powers. I think that's like super cool and fits perfectly with the whole theme. But one of the reasons I'm so interested in Spirit Island from like a design standpoint, and how it like mind-blowing this must be to design and playtest, is that Eric has no problem being like, I'm just gonna throw out this sense of like structure, like a spirit can do these things. And then he's like, never mind, and the just from like the growth powers at the top, whereas other games would be like, well, you always have the same 3 or 4 or 5 growths. I love the spirits that have more interesting ones. Are like, you always do this, and then you choose from these. Or you, in the case of Starlight, you pick 3 of them, but then you also unlock just like all these other ones. It's just so much fun. But I when I played it with other people, they've just been like, bro, you need to stop doing whatever you're doing over there because it is so slow. Just make a decision and do something like we've been doing this whole game. It's pretty much been like a solo only spirit at this point.
It kind of breaks my brain to think about like some of the very high complexity ones. The Finder of Paths Unseen is my favorite of the high complexities, or the very high complexities. But I think my saucy spirit, which I nearly picked for the favorite category, but I don't know that I'm necessarily good with them. I just have some of the most fun with them, is Bringer of Dreams and Nightmares. I'm going to be like your emo boy edgelord here and be like, the skull heavy metal spirit. But like, it's so different in contrast. Like, I think the Ocean and Bringer are probably the 2 most unique spirits in the original set. And the idea of like, you can't damage them. Like, you cannot touch them in a physical sense. But boy howdy, you can scare the pants off the invaders is so cool. And when you get rolling with this one and you actually push to a complete fear victory, it's nuts. And those fear cards, like especially on some of the other spirits that we play, when you don't get to see what the 3rd terror level effects of those fear cards are very often, because you've usually won or lost the game by that time, when you actually get to see them in action and it is just like explosive and you're like, whoa dude, this is crazy. And the ability to kind of foresee some of those, like anticipate what the fear cards are going to do and kind of project your turn around those, it's so strategically interesting. It's thematically absolutely killer, and it does something completely unlike any of the other spirits. So like, I think it is one of the most fun to play. And I'm normally the type of person who's like a real goody in like, it's hard for me to play
RPG.
Renegade
Yeah.
on Mass Effect or anything. I'm like, oh, I'm a softie. How dare you suggest that I wouldn't, get rid of the genophage or something, like.
Except in Infamous. I don't know if you played that, but the bad guy powers were just like lightning bolts everywhere. And when I tried being good for a bit, I was like, this kind of stuff. This game kind of stinks. And then I played like the evil version. I was like, oh, never mind.
Okay.
And that was the one game I had no problem being evil.
Well,
but yeah, I'm right there with you.
I can feel good because you know what? He's on the side of good. He's getting rid of the invaders.
They shouldn't be there.
Exactly. They stepped onto the island. He's just a manifestation of a different, sort of Vecna than what Stranger Things has going on, and I kind of love it. So that's my saucy spirit.
Yeah, being able to like, because so many times, whether it's the event cards, like, oh, if I would have known beasts were gonna, gobble up some people, or with the fear cards, you just know the fear ones, it's going to be something good, but sometimes you're like, well, that's kind of what I already did.
Yeah.
Womp womp. But to be able to like to look forward and know what's coming up is, I feel like I've over time gotten better at being like, all right, I'll do the thing that lets me do that, or I'll play the character that lets me do that. Like, I just played Marvel United last night with my wife, and there was one, the Daily Bugle let me look at the top of the bad guy deck, and I just like did that a few turns in a row, and it was like, game changing, because we're like, don't want that to happen.
Right.
And so to be able to look ahead like that, because you can't just like blow up cities, it's sort of like that tit for tat, and I think it is a super fun spirit. Though I have a bad habit of forgetting about the damage things early on, and I'm like, and I have to go back and retcon, like, this should be here, but I did more fear, but that's a me problem. That's not a game problem.
All right. Well, any parting thoughts on Spirit Island? Anything you wanted to add to this list? Any sidebars?
Well, just that I'm super excited about that it's in the conversation again with the upcoming things, and I think it's gonna be awesome to have the version that just has like the two different like boards on the back, or like double-sided board, and you just set it up and kind of easier to play. As someone who has now just recently everything for Spirit Island, it's going to be super nice to have when I don't want to set up the whole grab the whole big box, or I want to play that with someone to teach. And like I said, I'm just super excited that it went from like a game that for whatever reason I just slept on, didn't think it was going to hit with me, and it very much did. And I'm looking forward to discovering what other spirits there are out there, because when I look through the crazy part, I don't know about you, but it's a huge stack of spirits. We already discussed this. And that's exciting about the thinner versions, which is not usually how gamers want. They're like, no, we want cardboard things. But I feel like in a weird way they condense into like how when you're talking about your family, you rattle off like 24 names, and like everything about them, but you think of it's my family, and it doesn't come across as being that big to you. And I feel like in other games, 4, 5, 6 factions might feel like a ton of different things to remember. And when I go through this, I'm like, oh yeah, I know all the spirits. And when I actually look at them, like, there are so many here, but I like know them all so intimately. Right. And so it's just wild, and I'm interested to see what other directions it can go in.
I guess we should give the appropriate shout out here. The new game is going to be Horizons of Spirit Island, which is, I guess, Greater Than Games is partnering with Target to make a kind of condensed and streamlined version, but the spirits will be compatible with the original Spirit Island and vice versa. And like it's not like a modular board, it's just the board, and it combines a lot of the things. It looks like it reduces some tokens into like just cardboard tokens, like the Dahan are all cardboard tokens in the image that's released. But they've revealed a couple of the spirits. They look pretty cool. Sunbright Whirlwind is like a light cat. So if I need to get my kid into Spirit Island, he's going to be like, I want to be the cat.
Light cat.
Yeah. And then there's like a mud otter and like a badass tortoise mountain volcano thing. It's very Pokemon. I'm pretty into it. Can't wait to make some puppets for that. And I guess we're putting this up on the Cardboard Herald channel. But what's happening over on the Give Pause Hobby channel?
Yeah, I am going into uncharted waters for me, which is making short content.
We're not doing it right now, that's for sure.
No, definitely not. So it is outside my wheelhouse by a decent throw, but because I've done a couple years now of like long teaching, and I just finished up redoing all of the root bots and then rolling into the new ones for root, and I have some other specific like teachy things about that, and but I'm excited to be getting into under 5-minute reviews on the channel, which is again not what I want to do. I am a talker. I like to hear my voice, and I'm good at it. So it's a new challenge for me, but super fun. And then I have root is like the sun, the center of my like content creation solar system, and I'm in the process of writing 2 trumpet etudes for the new factions because I have the other 8 already out. What better way to spend your creative energy? And so I have the ideas for that, but they're not written, and I'm redoing the faction flow chart. So ways back I did that because I assumed the internet would have made it like 2.5 years ago when I was like really just getting into root, and it hadn't. And so I made one and have been informed a number of times about some of the places where my knowledge of the game was incomplete at the moment. And there are new factions, so I like data and displaying it, and what better way to put those together than a faction flowchart for root? But yeah, it's a lot of I'm getting into a better workflow, getting stuff out, some long, some short, and lots of it root on Pause Hobby.
I can't wait. And I'll have links to all that stuff in the description here, at least to the channel and to a couple different types of videos that Kyle has. And then, like I said, if you have your own thoughts, anyone in the audience right now, and I guess this isn't like what I said. Like what I said, I would like to do a live stream tier list. That's something that I mentioned earlier, and that would be really cool. And not even have our dumb faces on the camera, and just have it be the tier list and talking about it and really diving deep.
Voices.
Just our dumb voices. That would be awesome. So if anyone wants to help get us hip to that, I would love to do that. I've only kind of dabbled in live streaming, and I hear that you can get in trouble for dabbling on your live stream. So you got to be careful with what you're doing. But
if anyone thinks we're wrong on any of the 4 that we chose, be sure to let us know how we were wrong and to what extent, because again, like that we connected on that one, but then we had polar opposites on that other one. So I just love how different strokes for different folks on the Spirit Island world.
That's right. We love to see differences, and we love to see where we're wrong. We want beef, we want to create some nemesis on these channels because we love each other too much, and we love each other's content too much to be true nemesis of one another. But maybe we should create like a rivalry in order to spur up controversy and get on some algorithms or something. That's a plan. There's our content creator plan there. All right, man.
We already have the one spirit that I've kicked in the shin, so I won't name names anymore because it's already endured enough.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming back on to the Cardboard Herald. I can't wait to have you back on for something in the future, live stream or otherwise. Once again, awesome. Everyone, go check out GivePause Hobby. Kyle is just amazing and a wealth of information, and somehow has found out how to condense himself to under 5 minutes for those reviews. So that is in itself a feat worth checking out. I'll talk to you later, Kyle.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Jack.